Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Triple Dummy. That's right, I named it Triple Dummy because there's three of us. Um, I'm Pete.
Nice.
Up there is
Hi.
that's Elle, and we've got Nick Jacob as well. I gave Nick
Hi.
two names, whereas Elle only got one. Here
Right.
we're just going to talk sort of bridge-related stuff and go from there. We'll see how we go. The first thing I was just going to cover, which got a bit of commentation, yeah. Stuff in the
New words
news
already.
was the stuff on is bridge a sport? You got any ideas on that, Nick?
Yes, I do. Obviously, all three of us are pretty heavily invested in bridge being a sport, or at least something other than just a waste of, our time and money and energy and all that. But yeah, I think that it is. I mean, to compare it to other things like chess or video games, I suppose traditionally they wouldn't be considered sports, and maybe it doesn't matter if they're considered sports or not.
Yeah.
They're clearly things with a lot of skill, requiring a lot of practice, a lot of dedication, and they're competitive. So, as far as I know, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you reckon, Al?
You know what? I actually have zero opinion on the matter. Literally no opinion at all. I honestly don't understand why it matters whether bridge is a sport or not. I mean, I don't really know what it means. I mean, I understand that people like to categorize things, and that, being a sport gives us benefits or whatever. I don't even know. You know what? Every time I read the topic, is bridge a sport, my eyes sort of glaze over and I just sort of stop reading. So, no input here.
When I was back in my uni days, I got into the elite athlete sporting program because of bridge, and I liked the
Yeah.
sort of name of elite athlete
Just
sporting
like
program.
just like Ella, she got into that as well.
Yeah, it feels nice,
Yeah,
doesn't
so did I. Yeah. It made me feel pretty, like a good person. Like I was an elite athlete, I practiced for stuff and I was fit and things. That was good.
it?
When really none of those things were true.
Apparently, free gym membership as well.
Yeah,
So
and like for bridge players, I think that's actually useful compared to already athletes that are actually like buff and fit. It actually
yeah,
helps
to
us.
actually go to the gym. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, except I didn't use it once. Didn't even pick up my card.
Really?
So,
No, that was
yeah.
all. That's the only reason I signed up for that.
Oh.
I had to kill time somehow. Stop myself becoming morbidly obese at the same time. But
Yeah, about that. I'm
and
waiting
Do you
for
know what the
Jets to
situation is at the moment with the whole bridge as a sport thing? Has it been classified as a sport or?
so it's only happening in England. Like it's a England-related thing that all the press is about. Um, some countries already call it a sport. Some ones don't. The whole thing about England is if it gets classified as sport, they get way more funding and other things that'll help it a lot. So clearly the bridge people want it to be classified as a sport because that helps all the money related stuff. Um, and
Yeah,
some countries already call it that and some don't.
Right.
that makes sense. I mean, if it doesn't really matter if it's a sport or a very intensive competitive game, I mean, just call it a sport and we get more money. That sounds win-win, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Their concerns are that then like, Magic the Gathering or something else will then become a sport and then any random game will get qualified as a sport and they'll all get money and
yeah, but I kind of feel like you know, I mean, obviously someone has to make the distinction because someone's money is going into it.
yeah.
But, Magic the Gathering is pretty competitive. I'd like to think we're a step ahead of it, but,
Yeah.
it probably is going to be considered a sport one day. We're going to have to deal with it. Just like, Counter-Strike and Dota and all the other video games. I mean, there's a lot of money in these things. So,
Speaking
yeah,
of, I was watching
yeah.
some clip on esports, which is just all about video games. And they've got like these world champion stuff, and the massive prize monies and filling out sports stadium, and they've actually just designed it so like these like nerdy computer guys are like the world's most famous looking people, and everyone just goes mental over them, and it's just hilarious to watch. And they asked
Yeah,
them
that's
if they thought they were athletes, and like half of them like, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Elena, I'm going to give you a question. So, what do you reckon the prize pool is of the Dota 2? Dota 2 is just a video game. Just don't worry about it too much. It's of the Dota 2
Yeah, Dota 2 is
International
like
Championships.
Dota in high school.
Yeah, good. You know it. Excellent. So, what do you reckon the prize pool is for the annual competition this year?
I don't know whether to go way too high or way too low. I feel like way too high, considering it's the kind of the point of your point.
That's true. There
I'm
is a
gonna
point.
say, I really have no. I'm really bad at these kinds of questions, just making random guesses about things that I have no idea about. Like
That's
how many
all right.
whales are in the ocean. I don't even know how to begin thinking about that. So I'm gonna say $1.97 million.
It's much higher.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Wow.
How much higher?
Yeah. About 10 times. How much did you say? 1.9 or something? It's about
1.97. She was pretty precise.
about seven times that, 7 or 8 times. It's $13 million at the moment, US dollars,
Jesus.
and there is still like another. Yeah, there's still another month and a half of funding to go.
Just for
So
playing a game.
Yeah, just
Oh my
for
God.
one tournament.
I wish
One-
we got that in Bridge. It'd be nice to get
I
some.
know that would be nice. I mean, what's the equivalent? The Cavendish, maybe? What's the prize pool for that?
Does the Cavendish happen every year? I'm really bad at these
I think-
tournaments. I've
yeah,
never do.
it's-
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think they moved it to Monaco recently.
The Cavendish varies on how much people bet, right? Isn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's true. But yeah, I mean, that's probably, I guess, like, I don't know, like a few $100,000 for first place or something like that, which is still amazing and
Yeah.
completely incomparable. I mean, I guess, the only things coming close would be the A brothers or
yeah,
something.
the A Brothers gets about 100 grand for first prize of the teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next biggest one I can think of is like the NEC, which is like 12 grand for.
Yeah.
I'm probably missing some, but it's pretty big steep drop off. And it sounds nice, like it's good money, but then you're dividing it between 4 people for one event that's impossible to win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then
So-
you compare it to $13 million for one video game.
Yeah. I
That's
know,
crazy.
It is
Yeah.
incomparable.
Yeah.
But I suppose Bridge has always been like that. It hasn't been about the prize money, and actually, the way you earn money in the game is not such as you do in poker, by actually winning, but by being good enough to be sponsored. So, which is a whole different kettle of fish, I guess.
Yeah, I reckon if they injected money into it, it would change the game dramatically. Like if there was big prize money events, I don't know whether it would change it for the better or the worse, but it would like be so different if that happened.
Yeah.
Surely it would change it for the better. It would just mean that more people played and people were more competitive about it, right? Like, I mean, we can't get any more dicks in Bridge. There's already enough of those. You can't possibly get any more. So it should surely just get more people,
Yeah,
which is good. So, I don't know. I can't really imagine it being a bad thing.
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there was one. I don't know if you guys saw it, but recently there was a thread on Bridge Winners about the Israeli pair, Fisher and Schwartz,
Yeah.
who pulled out the Bermuda Bowl because they wanted to play in the transnationals, sponsored by their, whoever their sponsor is. And I mean, that is, I mean, it's not an indictment of the way the game is, but it's, it kind of says, like, if you're going to be a professional, you may have to sacrifice actually what your dreams may be in the game to, make money.
Yeah, can't necessarily play in the top events because you don't get paid for them, so you have to play in the ones where you do. I guess if everyone could just earn money playing the game and didn't need to play with the sponsors, then you'd get a stronger tournament, but it'd be a different one. But anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
talking about playing with sponsors, you in the VCC, you're on a sponsored team with. Was that your first one like that, or have you been doing that
It
before?
was. No, yeah, it was my first time, so it was quite exciting, quite new. Um, excuse me. We were playing with Ross Harper. It was my regular partner Glenn and I, and Ishmael and Justin, and it was a fantastic experience. Something we didn't. Glenn and I didn't really know how to approach it. Whether we'd come back to score ups and we'd have a minus 800 and we'd get crucified by the sponsor, and we'd be turning on each other like hyenas. But it was actually really good. Like,
Yeah.
Ross was incredible. He'd just rock up and say, how'd we go here? And we'd be like, we kind of did some good, did some bad, and they bit a ridiculous slam that made, and he's like, oh, that's okay, it happens, just, do you want a beer? And we're like, all right, this is a good setup,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd recommend it,
Well done on coming second, by the way.
Thank you.
Sure.
It's,
Well,
sort of,
is it well done, or are you like sad about it? Like, what do you think now that it's been a couple of weeks or a week?
yeah, it's, it would have been nice to have won it, I guess. I mean, I've never won an Australian National before, so it would have been, a nice first step there. But the VCC is kind of a special tournament in that it's, I guess, I don't know, I think it's the only national where you don't have any knockouts at the end.
No. I played in one of the Great Barrier Reef. It runs the
Is that
exact
national
same.
as well? Okay, cool. Well, yeah, it's certainly, it feels like it's more, in that class of competition than in the knot, for instance, where you're going for a grueling knockout after kind of hopefully swissing into it. So I speak as someone who has Swissed rather than as someone who has won it, which we can all look to Pete towards. Won it last year, was it?
2014.
Yeah. So how is that for you? Like, crowning glory of your career so far, or what do you reckon?
No, well, my favourite thing would be the 2 silver medals that we got.
Hey gang!
Yeah. Hey, Laura.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Now we've got +2. We've got Ella over here, and now we've got you. So
The Five-Way
Change
Podcast.
things up, yeah.
And impressively, Pete's technology is working.
Yay.
good.
Hasn't failed
Yeah.
me yet.
All we can see is a Skype call, and that's still working, so that's fine.
If you guys just all moved to Melbourne, it could just be a live podcast here with everyone.
Oh. You know what? I hadn't thought of that.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, someone could have thought about this maybe, I don't know, 10 months ago when all of us were living in Melbourne.
Before everyone fled the country.
Just come back, guys. Come back.
Yeah.
We miss you.
Melbourne's
Melbourne.
slowly
Here to
leaking
stay.
youth players at a rapid rate.
Yeah. We were the import capital of Australia, and now we're just like dropping them left, right, and centre. They're just
Yeah,
fleeing.
just shipping them all off to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Sending them away.
So, are you able to play for New Zealand yet?
I don't know. Maybe?
Thought
Not
about
sure.
that?
Don't know what the rules are. I don't think New Zealand would complain about it, to be
Yes.
fair. I mean, they might, but I have no idea.
No, we would not complain. I speak on behalf of New Zealand in this matter.
This is really bad.
Oh, yeah. So, funny thing about the VCC, actually, that I noticed
Yeah.
while I was looking at the scores on the last day. So this is the 3rd year out of 4 years that Justin Howard has come second
Yeah, I know.
by a very close amount.
Yes.
Except the first year. The first year wasn't a very close amount.
Oh, wasn't that the one you switched into second? You guys were
Yeah.
coming like 60th at the start of the
We
second day.
were
or something.
right back in the peloton with 4 matches to go and got something like 97 or 98 VPs from 4 matches in a 25
In the old
VP square.
scale. Yeah.
That is the way to go. Yeah.
And just
Yeah, I
like jumped
remember
up.
that. And then the next,
Never played
remember
any of the
the
top teams.
sorry, I remember the next year he was extremely pissed off about coming second because you guys were leading for like most of it. So
Yeah.
I can really imagine how in a grumpy mood he was this year. I probably think that you're glad that you weren't there, Pete.
Yeah, no, I was quite happy. I've got enough silvers in the VCT, but well done on joining the club, Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
pres-
yeah. I won't say it's an exclusive club, but it is a prestigious one.
Yeah, prestigious club. Yeah.
You're lucky, Pete, that silver looks way better on you than gold. I think you've got enough silvers to
Yeah.
probably last you the rest of your life.
I don't want to collect too many more, but
You know what? If you think you're gonna come second, you probably should just come third, just to like just steer clear of that silver.
Yeah. Oh. It's tough to deal with, though, isn't it? I mean, we kind of, I mean, everyone throws away imps all the time. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, it felt like in the first match of the last day, we probably threw 30 imps at our table, and Ish and Juz came out and they said they threw about the same amount. We win by 5. It's like, oh, okay, all right, well, whatever. Let's hope it doesn't matter. And then, we finished pretty quick. Well, we didn't finish that quickly in the last match, but our teammates finished very, very slowly.
Yeah.
And we came out and we were about 10 VPs ahead with 6 boards to play in our match and 2 or 3 boards to play in, potentially relevant other matches.
yeah.
And so it wasn't a very nice feeling kind of watching the VPs plummet. And, we've still got like all these boards to go. I'm like, oh my God, like we don't have a single good board to finish. Like, and, then I said to Ella at one point, I'm like, she refreshed the scores. I'm like, are these the scores? Are these round 10 scores? And she said, yes. And I said, but Thompson's in the lead. And she said, yeah. And I said, but I swear I'm gonna play the slowest I've ever played in my life next time I go into a last round. I don't want to be that pair waiting for results. It's the worst.
I know the feeling.
I have a feeling that you know the feeling, Pete. I remember when we were in China for the 2013 PABF, and there was that like day in the middle where we were playing all these nobody teams, and like you and Juz were sitting out for most of it because Juz was like horribly sick, and we would just lose to like people coming last. I think we gave people more BBs than they had in the entire event up till that point. I'm pretty sure you guys started drinking like at midday just because you couldn't take it anymore. You're like, I can't watch these scores anymore. You a minus 1390 on a board. So yeah, I know what that must be like.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Going on, we'll change topics here. I was wondering, what do you reckon are some good tips for improving for sort of any sort of player, even club players, expert players?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is you have to analyze all your hands. You just, it's no good going to the club every day and kind of, I mean, it doesn't matter how good a player you are. If you're just starting off, or if you're relatively experienced, or if you're playing internationally, professionally, whatever. If you want to get better, then you have to be trying to do your best on every hand, and then reflecting on it. I mean, it can be really tough at the club if you're playing against or playing with people who maybe don't bring the best out in you, I guess. Especially if you're playing all the time.
Yeah.
There is, we pretty much all have other things that we do for work, leisure, other responsibilities, and we can't play bridge every day and reflect on every hand that we play. So I mean, although not to advocate playing less, I think that it's better to only play with a competitive mindset. So you're trying to do the best in every hand and going over it in an unbiased way afterwards.
So getting some like good feedback, making sure you look over the hand records, and even if you're like not good enough to analyze it, like maybe talking over with some better people what you reckon you should have done or something.
Absolutely. I mean, Elena, you would know the same. We all know that we all came from this background, right? Being youth players, we came into it as, you know, really young, inexperienced players. And how did we actually learn? How did you learn when you first came into it?
Yeah. I played with. I mean, yeah, just feedback. I mean, it's really the only way to learn, I guess, because you can't. There's so many things going on. You can't actually have all the new ideas yourself. Like, if you played for ages and you didn't know anything about squeezes, what the chances of you having an idea that a squeeze might be a thing are so small. You know, you might just not realize that it's a thing. And that applies to absolutely everything. Like, you just can't actually think of everything yourself. And the best way to do it is to talk to other people who have these ideas, you know, and to learn about what you did and why it was good and why it was bad. Definitely.
Yeah. I reckon.
One of my other
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of my other top tips is to think about declarer's points and shape at the start of every defensive hand. If you just get into the habit of doing it, then you'll just do it without even realize that you're doing it later on, and you know it'll become so much habit that you're not taking brain power to do it, and you can concentrate on other things now that you've already done it, you know, so quickly. It's such a good habit to get into, and I keep trying to do it, but it's just, you know, you have to do it consistently for a while to really get into the habit of it. But definitely would be useful.
Yeah, that leads on to my top tip, which is count more. If you just try and count. There's so many people that play bridge without actually trying to count something or work out what the missing hands have at all. They're just all solely focused on their own cards. And
Yeah. I remember quite soon after I started playing, I played one of the Australian youth ANCs with Paul Gosney, one of Australia's best players. And I was such a beginner that I could have been playing with like Morecambe and I would have learnt just as much. And so the one thing that I remember him teaching me, like that I distinctly remember him personally teaching me, was give declarer a shape, even if it's like just a random guess at the moment. Like if the declarer's open to no trump, then just give them a 4-3 shape until you have more information in the hand. That way, if you start, every time you get information, you'll keep adding to it. So you just like, you know, give them something and then wait till it like becomes clearer in your mind.
yeah,
So that's also fun.
that's a good tip. Like they open a no trump, you guess 4-3-3. And even if you don't count anything, at some point you see them show up with a doubleton, and then you stop and try and revise that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, all right, they've either got a 5-card suit or they've got 2 4-card suits, and you can start. Yeah, you start building off that. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, it feels like it's one of, if not the biggest beginner mistake, is that you get stuck in your own hand. You know, in the auction, it's like you're just looking at your cards and ignoring all the other information that's coming through to you from all the unseen hands, and then you start playing and you completely forget that, you know, all these hands actually have some clues. You know, maybe they didn't bid, maybe they doubled, which, you know, do you know what that shows? Do you understand how, you know, if you're missing 19 points and this person opened at the one level and this person responded, you know, what sort of ranges are we putting them on now?
Yeah.
And yeah, just all those things, you know, they need to become second nature in order to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true for all levels as well. You know, it's really something that's, you know, I mean, you see people do this all the time. There was another thread on Bridge Winners, you know, good source of material, by the way. Recommend people to read that. There was this thing where Nunez was, you know, who's a one of the best Italian players, was acquitted. You know, this is like all this crime and punishment stuff going on here, but anyway, he was acquitted of any malpractice. I don't know what you call it, but when he didn't cash an ace against a slam, he'd already cashed his first ace, and then he gave his partner a rough in the suit, and he was like, you know, afterwards he was, you know, so it led to the contract going 2 or 3 off instead of just 1 off or whatever.
I think it only cost 1 trick.
Yeah,
it only
cost
got
one
him
trick,
1 trick. They beat it like
Yeah.
3 tricks instead of 2.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, they asked him why he did it, and he was just like, you know, like he was just like, I actually just, you know, thought that my partner had a singleton. I led this ace expecting partner to have a singleton, and he did it, you know, and he was just, it didn't matter the fact that, you know, partner had to have 8 cards in this suit that had overcalled, you know, the 2 level for not cashing his other ace to be right. You know, he just did it, and you're like, well, actually, you know, this is one of the best players, very best players of the world. And he just didn't stop at trick 2 to count out the shape, you know, just to declare on a shape. He just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So it
Everyone
happens,
does it.
you know.
Makes mistakes
Yeah.
and does things like that. I was just thinking that I do things like that where I get this idea in my head and just get stuck with it, and it's impossible to get it out of my head. Like, his whole thing was that he thought the opponent jumped to slam, so had a void club. And he didn't think anything past that, wow, partner must have 8 clubs for that to actually be true. Just got the idea that they had a void and just based the whole defense around it. And it's really easy to do that. You just get this idea and just don't try and check any information about it and just get stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that recently actually. I was playing a tournament with James Coots, and I had this hand, some like pretty average hand, but I had 8 diamonds. It was like King Jack to 8 diamonds, and I don't really remember the most of my hand. It was something like that. Maybe I had like a Jack or a Queen around. Pretty average hand. Anyway, so the person on my left opened 2 diamonds, multi for the major, like for 1 major, and then James Coots doubled. And then the person on my right bid 4 hearts. Pass or correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So it went pass, 4 spades, and then James Coots doubled again. Pass, now it's my bid. And I was like, oh, he's obviously just got some big hand, but like double of 4 spades might not necessarily be takeout because it's just, you know, values. So I just decided that he had like a stiff diamond and that I might be going off in 5 diamonds. And that I just didn't want to go, I didn't want minus 50 when I could be getting plus 300 or plus 500 or plus 800. So I just decided, I was like, I don't want to play King Jack to 8 opposite a singleton. Like, what is that? So
I've only got 9 trumps.
I know, but with such bad quality. So I passed. I got minus 790 for my efforts. And we had a 13-card diamond fair.
Oh, shit. Did he cash the ace of diamonds? The true one.
No, luckily you didn't leave a diamond. Some big bopper of a thing. I mean, we could have taken it off if you'd given me a rough, but he doesn't know that I've got singleton clubs. He doesn't know that I've got 8 diamonds and decided not to bid them. So, that can definitely happen, where you just get stuck with an idea that just kind of maybe doesn't even make sense. And you're just like, well, I'm just gonna take minus 790 here instead of plus 920. Good.
It's very common as well. You know, I mean, not to pass it, you know, with 8-card support for something, but no, it's very common to get to do the thing that feels kind of less like taking a position as well. You know, it's more of a position to take out partner's double than it is to pass it. You know, you pass it, you say, "Wow, I only had, you know, like a 5-3-3-2 or flat hand with not much offense." You know, and even if it's wrong, you know, you can kind of defend it. But if you take it out and they were going for 500, you go for 50, it's just, it feels so stupid. You know?
I know, I know. I hate getting -50 when I could have gotten +500. It's just, it's the most depressing thing. The singular most upsetting thing in Bridge.
On a random note, what's that picture behind you, Al?
This one, the one
Yeah.
with the trees.
Yeah. What is it?
I'm not sure. Would you like a closer look? I don't
Yeah, bring it up.
it's some art. Here is
I would have never guessed that.
No, it is. It's true.
I was
Definitely
going to
true.
go for, you know, a Matisse or a Picasso or something, but
Look, I don't know. I really don't know. So, not, yeah, a close-up of the art in James Coots's house.
Oh, isn't that nice?
It does have good
Yeah.
taste in art.
No, it is a good one. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Have we? Is that?
Yeah, that's
Is it
good.
long enough?
Yeah, I can see it
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah,
It's
great.
just nice and colourful. And
It is. It is nice. I actually, yeah, I really like it. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
So, moving on, we've talked about how we can improve, but one thing I notice is lots of people don't feel inspired to actually get better. Like, how do you reckon you should be able to motivate some people to want to get better? Like, people that are good club players, for instance, are just happy playing there. Or there's junior players that reach a certain point and then think they're top shit, and then they're happy sitting at that level. Now, I remember, like, when I did it, I went through phases where I thought, like, yep, I really need to get good, and then I was like, okay, now I'm good. And then I
Good.
just, you know, like, you go through phases where you want to get better, and then other phases when you're like, no, I'm happy with where I am. But I find some people just get, like, stuck or bogged down. So, like, what do you reckon you can do to motivate most people to want to get better?
I don't
You want
know.
to-
I don't know if it's really. Personally, I want to get better because, well, I mean, partly because I'm interested in the game. You know, I like the whole logic, and I like working out the logic. You know, it feels satisfying at the end when you made all the deductions and you got the thing right, and you played the dude for the stuff, and it all worked, and you're like, yeah. But I mean, also because I'm just extremely competitive, and I always have been, and I have been in pretty much everything that I did. I was at home in Newcastle just like a couple of months ago because some of my family's come over from Bulgaria, and I have a cousin who's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something. She's a small child. Anyway, we're playing some card game, and it's completely luck-based, and she threw the largest tantrum when she lost, and I was just like, wow, that reminds me of me. Literally, when I lose, I just get so upset that it makes me want to throw things at walls. So,
That story went so much better than I thought it was going to go. I thought you were going to get, you know, completely like boxed, and you were going to go and throw a massive tantrum on her, you know, just like bop her or something.
How dare you?
nah, I couldn't. I was like, nah. I was too empathetic with her situation.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no idea how I would motivate other people.
Well, you
My
said you
my
want to get.
motivation comes from my internal desire to beat other people.
Well, you said you want to get better, but what are you doing to get better? Are you doing anything, or are you just saying that you want to get better?
Well, I mean, I try to. I go through phases. Sometimes I go through phases of being really enthusiastic about it. At the moment we're trying to organise a whole bunch of stuff with the, hopefully future Australian youth team for next year to organise a bunch of stuff for Worlds and, you know, start practicing and that sort of stuff. But also, I mean, I play a few things and I've started, because I never used to do this, because once I finish playing like a whole day of bridge, sometimes you just don't want to go through the boards. But I've started doing it even if I don't want to, you know, and James Coots is always happy to talk about stuff, and he, you know, he's really useful because he has some pretty interesting ideas, and that's good. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, it really goes through phases with trying to get better. Sometimes you want to, and then sometimes you're just like, oh, I can't be bothered. I try and I try and I try, and then, like, I haven't gotten better in the last 3 years, I swear, so I don't even know why I bother.
Yeah, it's easy to feel that way as well because it's kind of, you know, I mean, most sports are seasonal. You know, you can't really do them all year round. It's kind of like you have a definitive start and end to, to the year of a sport. Whereas in bridge, it's really, it just goes on and on and on. Like you can, I mean, some of the biggest events in Australia and New Zealand are in January. Some of them are in July. Then you go overseas in September and October, and
Yeah.
it's just non-stop,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like it's, it's very helpful if you're just a bridge bum and want to play bridge a lot. But sometimes it's nice to have that feeling of, all right, well, this is my time period that I have for, where I have these competitions. I'm going to see how I do in these competitions. I'm going to assess my play at the start and at the end, and hopefully all the way through, and see if I'm getting better. And I think the easiest way to tell whether you're getting better or not is not by your results, but by how foggy or how clear your thought patterns are while you're going through hands.
Yeah.
If you can think, all right, I was playing them for a 4-5, 1-3. They actually were 4-4, 1-4 or something, and I did and I set up their club, yada yada yada. At least that's a thought. That's like I was playing them for something, rather than being like, wow, maybe another heart will cash or something, or maybe blah blah blah. And it's kind of like you can do the wrong thing, but as long as you have actually processed, hope not necessarily accurate, but a logical deduction, then then I feel like that's that's an indicator for improving or improvement.
Yeah. I was just thinking just then, like, I don't think people get enough goals to want to get better. Like, youth players want to get better because there's lots of rewards of youth tournaments and lots of tournaments that they can have. There's the under-21s, then there's the under-25s, or there's the Victorian team, and then there's the Australian team. And there's sort of baby step goals that you can try and work to and then actually get some reward for, that you can see like a noticeable something you get back for putting in your effort. Whereas most club players, they get good such that they win semi-regularly at their club and feel that's good enough. And then they see top players and think, well, I can never be as good as them, and that's the next level that I sort of have to achieve. And it isn't really a good motivation to try and get better. Like, they'll have the intrinsic, I just want to get better, but there's no other sort of general motivations going around, or no rewards. Because master points don't really do the best motivational job.
No, they sort of reward
Yeah.
participation in the long run, I guess, rather than anything discernible, any sort of discernible skill or improvement or whatever. Sometimes also what you can actually play. I mean, you can't actually earn that many master points if most of your bridge is on BBO, which is also a good place to learn bridge. As long as you're doing it in the right way. But yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I know when I was coming into the game as a young guy, there were just so many people who would come up to me and say, "Would you like to have a game? I'd like to play with you sometime." And it's just an endless stream of people, and it's and it's really nice. It's fantastic the way that most bridge players look after the new people coming into the game. But it's really tough if you come into it, even in your 20s, but especially 30s or 40s or later, because, it's harder to see someone and be like, all right, this is a new person to the game. They could use some new people to play with or some experience. I'll go play with them. So I think it's actually really important if you're new to the game to ask people who are better than you to play. I mean, I know some, you run into some people who won't want to, or they'll make up excuses or whatever. But actually, most people are quite flattered to be asked, to play, to play with you. I mean, I remember Juz has a story about this with Helgamo. You know, they were out drinking somewhere, and he's like, "You, Gaia, you know, who's the best player in the world, just insanely good. Do you want to play with me?" And Gaia's like, "Yes, you asked me. That's amazing. No one asks me. Who asks Helgamo to play?" And it's like, you know, you're just like, this is kind of true for most levels. You know, you ask someone better than you, they say, "Cool, all right, let's have a game," and you go from there.
Yeah. That all sounds pretty reasonable. Ah. So the next thing I wanted to cover, which I thought would be your favourite, Elle, was what are your thoughts on different selection methods?
My favorite. Ugh. Don't get me started. Oi.
Controversial topics. Oh dear.
The Australian butler. Where to begin? Where to begin? Surely, there must be a better way of selecting the best 3 pairs to represent the Australian youth team than the format that is the Australian youth butler. Sure, everyone, okay, so for those of you that might be unaware about how it works, 10 pairs play in the Australian youth butler. So what happens is you have 5 tables playing imp scoring, and you score against the other tables. So all the scores of the 5 tables are averaged minus the top and bottom, and, so what happens is there's not that many really top pairs in the trial for the Australian youth team. Like, usually you get about 6, 7, maybe 8 good pairs, and then you've always got these, no offense, 2 to 3 pretty average, kind of newbie, a little bit random pairs that...
First year in it.
Yeah, first year in it, there aren't that many pairs to play it, and so they just make the butler, and then, let's face it, they make the scores random. They just don't big games on random hands, or they end up in the random spot, and and because if there's only one table, it would be fine, because you remove the top and the bottom scores, but there's 2, so there's always a table, making scores weird. And I know that people always say that, the luck of it all, evens out, but my experience has not agreed with that
Doesn't
at
work
all.
for you.
I mean,
Your luck,
no,
doesn't it?
but I mean, it could just be because...
Oh, we lost Elle.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
Ah, so
Very
did you just
sensitive
stop
topic.
talking because your video cut out?
Yes, I was like, why? I was wondering whether it was going to come back. Yeah. Yeah, so, I feel like there's got to be, yes, maybe it evens out. Maybe I've been a bit unlucky. Maybe I just haven't played as well as I thought that I have. And maybe I didn't deserve to make the youth team on that year that I, came 6th. But surely there must be a better way of doing it. I just don't understand why we have to resort to this method. Surely there must be a better way.
What would you suggest?
I don't know. This is why I haven't actually made a proper complaint or, email or anything like that to the BBF or anything, because I just don't have any better ideas. But
What
don't
about
worry. I'll keep thinking. One will come to me eventually.
What about this? So you get 10 pairs on the first day, because there's also another pairs event to qualify into it, isn't there? There's a first stage with all the pairs, and then you kind of pretty much everyone qualifies, and there's a cutoff at some point. Right?
About one pair misses out.
Yeah. So you could actually just not cut off. I'd be in favour of not cutting off, right? So you keep all the pairs, Australian youth pairs there, and then you have one session of, say, 26, 27 boards, or however many it is, to get a full rotation. Everyone plays 2 or 3 boards against everyone else, imp scoring, which is obviously, again, a random format, but then you cut whoever's not in the top 8, say, after 2 sessions of that, and then you do that again and cut 2 more. And so let's say you have 3 sessions in a day. Over the first session you cut 2 pairs, second session cut 2 pairs, third session you cut it down to 6 pairs with full carryover. And then you've got your day, you've had your cull, the first day's, maybe you're the unlucky 7th pair or you're the lucky 6th pair, but you get that, you're going to get that in any method. And then you have a full, however many board matches, 20 board matches against every other pair for the rest of the event. Maybe. Something like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that having 10 pairs to choose from is a very, very luxurious
We
first
sort
world
of
problem.
don't really have 10 pairs to choose from, though. Usually we have like 7 or 8 pairs to choose from.
But
That's
you
the
do
problem.
have 10 pairs.
Yes, we
So-
have existence of 10 pairs, 20 people. Correct, yes, true.
So
yeah.
the New Zealand Youth Bridge team this year, all good mates of mine, so I hope they forgive me for what I'm about to say. Is it was not a good situation to be in, right? We had, three of the people out of the 6 on the team had other partnerships that were competing overseas in the same year, and which were all higher priority than the youth partnerships.
Yeah.
So there was my partner Glenn. We're playing in the Open this year. He was playing with Andy Bowie, who was playing with her mum in the women's, and there was Rebecca Wood playing with Dominic Evans. Rebecca was playing with her mum in the women's as well, which is, I mean, it's awesome. I reckon it's awesome that there are young people coming through and taking steps into, New Zealand representation. But the squads were chosen, applications were accepted until, say, October or November, and then the squad was chosen maybe December, January for an event in April, giving the partnerships 2 or 3 months to prepare for an international event when 2 of the partnerships and 3 of the players all had higher priority partnerships that had to play in all the big events leading up to that international event. So I think it was a really, the problem is you select pairs, you don't know if they're going to practice anyway. And all the pairs did as much work as they could, which wasn't as much as should be for playing international bridge, in my opinion.
Yeah.
New Zealand
So-
just picks the team, right? They don't actually
Yes.
have
No, it's all pure selection. Next year they're going to have 1 pair automatically qualify for the team, which is actually kind of irrelevant because
they're going to get selected.
they're going to get selected anyway. So that's kind of, you've still got selectors choosing the 2nd and 3rd pairs, and for youth, selectors are just going to choose, whoever's available if they think that that's going to be a good team.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, we've had lots of fundraising and lots of efforts put into, finally play International Youth Bridge after 4 years last year in Istanbul, and already 1 year later, and certainly 2 years later, it's looking like, the question is once again, are we going to have a New Zealand Youth Bridge team?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably no.
Yeah. It's a bit
So-
sad.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
And the selectors can't be blamed for that. It's not their fault. It's just, you get periods of time where you just don't have many youth players coming through, or the youth players you have coming through are all into other partnerships, which is awesome as well. But Youth Bridge is kind of, although I would love it to be, a kind of constant, it is actually more of a luxury at this point,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And although I feel like a selection committee is in theory a good idea, for some reason, people, like a person will in general make a good, will have good ideas and make good judgments, but people, when you put them together, for some reason, I don't know why, just do some of the most baffling things ever. And I just don't.
Groupthink. It's just, yeah. Yep, absolutely. Well, sorry to harp on about it, but so Terence Rees, right, world famous English player and author, wrote once that because they were using selection methods in England for the Open team, he said that as an amateur game, the people who were, well, okay, how to phrase this? The selectors weren't capable enough bridge players in order to select the best bridge players who'd put their names down, which is, pretty reasonable for an amateur game, an amateur sport or whatever it is. Because you've got people who are doing this because they love the game, because they think they can contribute, and they can, absolutely. But selection is can be very hard on both the selectors and the players, because, not everyone has all the information to get it right.
Yeah.
And then in contrast, you could never select in a place like America, because that would kill all professionalism in the sport.
Yeah.
You'd have no sponsors trying to play international bridge, and thus no professionals playing it either.
Yeah.
So it would kill it. It would absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
I also think that selecting youth players in particular is extremely difficult because of the learning curve that they go through. Like, they haven't really been playing that long when you might be selecting them. And in the time between you try and select them and when they're going to play, there could be a drastic difference between that. And then people just get this reputation and expect that the good players from last year will be the same good players for the next year. But it's really not the case with youth players, because someone will come up each year that will try and contest.
Yeah. When you're selecting... Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say the people in the committee are just not that familiar with the current youth players as well, like, which ties into what you were saying. Like, they might be new, or maybe the people in the committee just don't know them that well, because they're not youth players anymore, so they don't hang around that crowd and they just don't know. It's just it's too hard. It's all too hard.
Yeah, it's and I mean, when you're trying to select youth players, it's almost like, how good are they is very far down the list of questions you have to ask before selecting someone. You have to think, how keen are they to play, for instance?
Yes.
Are they going to stick to the game? Who are their influences? Do they actually have people around them who will help them out, who will mentor them? How will they conduct themselves? I don't know, I'm talking to you, Pete. Like, conduct isn't exactly, your forte, but
Pete's like the most representable Australian youth player I've ever met.
all right, fair enough.
That may, however, say something more
About
about
the others.
standard, which comparing it to.
Yeah. So maybe that's an important question, maybe not, but
Will our youth players punch each other? Maybe that one should come up.
you're not going to answer that on this podcast.
Maybe our youth players will tape themselves to a pole. Maybe not.
Yeah, there's a whole variety of questions like that you want to ask before selecting them.
Important, yeah. Or will they practice? Do they have the motivation to put in the effort to practice with their partner? Are they going to be playing with the same partner next year? Or do they just want to play with whoever for this year and just be done with it, We really need long-term partnerships, not only in youth bridge, but in Australian bridge as well. It's no wonder, Australia bridge is so average. I mean, we've got some good players, and it's not about that. It's about the fact that the best partnership we have is, Bill and Ben,
Yeah. It's
Even
tough to
Tony
name
and
other
Staj aren't even
partnerships.
playing together. Pardon?
Yeah.
It's tough to name other partnerships around Australia.
Yeah, it is. You used to be able to rely on, Tony and Sataj, but now it's not even that anymore.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah. All the professionals have to play most of their bridge with sponsors if they want to stay professional bridge players. It's kind of, in Australia and New Zealand, you can't live off being a professional bridge partnership. You can't be a mixed off Rodwell and get paid to go to every event, whatever. And even then, they still play a lot of sponsored stuff individually, I think. So, it's kind of, it's really hard. If you want to invest the amount of time into the game to be the best you can be, you want to be earning money off the game, but to do that, you have to be doing bridge-related things that may not generate the improvement that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. move on to the final one that I was going to do, which is coping with losing. Now,
Another one.
you're basically known as, well, I think you're a terrible loser. But how do you,
Surely not.
what is your coping mechanism? What do you like do when,
I think that's the problem. I don't have any. I'm still really mad about Turkey. How long ago was that? I still haven't forgotten about the last board. The reason that I didn't make the semi-finals of the World Championship, 2 World Championships in a row. That was the second World Championship I lost in the quarterfinals, and it was all because of one bid that I made on the last board. Ugh.
was it a good bid?
I don't know. I could give you the hint if you like. Might as well. Since we're
sounded
talking
like
about
it could have
it.
been a good bid.
Yeah.
I mean, was it on a finesse or something? Or
It was on a finesse. I'll give you the hand. So you've got
Okay.
Queen 10 fourth, too low. Ace King Jack to 5, too low. 4 2 5 2 10 count.
Yeah. Queen
Quite a
10
nice
fourth, too low. Ace King Jack fifth, too low.
Yeah. So the person on your right opens 3 hearts at Orval. I think it's Orval. So 3 hearts. You pass, and your partner bids 3 spades. Partner bids 3 spades. Pass your bid.
mm,
4 diamonds Q bid. Because you're a past hand.
Yeah. So you could do that, But
Yep.
what's your partner gonna do with 4 diamonds? They're gonna bid 4 hearts. Are you gonna move over that, or are you just gonna let them move over? If they move over 4 diamonds, then that's it. But if they bid 4 hearts, then you're just gonna sign off. What do you realistically need your mate to have to be making slam? And what kind of stuff are they gonna have to make a vol 3 spade bid? You've got a pretty good hand. You've got a source of tricks.
yeah, I mean, you need partner to have control in both hearts and clubs. You can probably assume that partner doesn't have a singleton in either of those. I'd think. It just doesn't seem likely without the 4 heart raise. Which means you need an ace and a king, and you need probably 2 aces would be better, because otherwise you need ace king, and diamonds to be okay. Diamonds to be actually good, because you don't have that sort of power in the rounded suits either. I mean, I think you probably need too much most of the time. I don't know. I mean, it could just work. Maybe it's like you bid 4 diamonds. If partner bids 4 hearts, I'll be signing off in a heartbeat. Because I'm hoping, if I bid 4 diamonds, partner goes. If partner goes, I'd expect it to make hopefully more than 50% of the time, but to go down a reasonable amount of time. I think if it goes 4 diamonds, 4 no, because I don't think my hand's quite just powerful enough. A 4-3-5-1 would be much different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm okay with 4 diamonds and just signing off or respecting the sign off. I think I think you just need too much otherwise.
Yeah. Upon reflection, you may be right.
Hindsight, wonderful thing.
Hindsight, yeah.
Anyway, I really liked my hand. And I was like, well, maybe I just assumed they would have the things that I wanted them to have for their 3 spade bid.
Hmm.
You know what? Maybe they bid 4 spades. It's been so long, I don't even remember. I remember thinking that she must have a lot. I can probably go back through the
4
records.
spades would be a kick.
Yeah.
4 spades would definitely be a kick.
You know,
All
I
right,
really
let's
don't.
look it up. Let's find out what did
All right.
Lauren Travis
It'll
bid.
probably just be that my partner just did 3
Do you-
spades, and I just assumed they had way more than they really are showing. Because I remember thinking that they had ace king of spades and just a control in hearts, and then yeah, I guess they need. Ace of clubs, ace king. Really, isn't that really enough though? I suppose that's relying on diamonds coming in though.
Yeah, you need lots of staying power in diamonds. You need 5 tricks in diamonds, or
Yeah,
a 6 spade.
Yeah.
Are you just Googling what did Lauren Travis bid? Or are you doing a bit more detailed
Effectively,
search?
I'm doing a bit more detail than that. Yeah. Let's have a look. Okay, the dreaded quarterfinal.
Lauren Travis bid. Anyway, so regardless of what my partner bid, I decided that I only needed. But it seems a bit strange that I would have bid 5 spades over 3 spades. She must have bid 4. You know what? I don't remember. We'll find out. There's no point in speculating.
Did she bid 3
Yeah.
spades? She didn't bid 3 no trumps.
Nah, she didn't bid 3 no trumps.
All right, she definitely didn't bid 4. She didn't bid 4 spades on Ace King Jack fifth. I don't think.
Oh,
And a
okay.
5,
Yep.
5 2 3 3.
Fine. Anyway, so I guess I must have bid 5 spades over 3 spades then. I decided that all she needed was a heart control, and that would be enough. That would be enough for us. Maybe it was a bit hopeful. I think I just assumed that diamonds would be coming in, like either she would have 2 or...
Yes. It's a good slam. It's a really good
Yeah,
slam.
no, I found the article.
Oh yeah, you found it. Good. You know, it's a fantastic slam. You know, you just
Yeah.
need the preemptor to not have the ace of clubs. Like,
Or to lead it. You know,
Or to
people
lead
love
it, that's
doing
right.
this against
yeah,
slams.
that's right.
They love it.
That's right. It's well over 50%. It's probably like, you know, I reckon it'd be like 70% plus easily.
Yeah, good percentage for a slam.
5 spades.
Yep, that's the one. That's exactly
I-
what Al just said. Yeah, good fun.
I bid a lot of
Good
spades. I bid a big number.
So
Yeah,
if you bid to a good slam, why are you worried about that board?
Because it doesn't matter whether I bid to a good slam. It's the fact that we went off and then that cost us the amount of imps needed to make the semi-final. It's completely irrelevant about how good it was or how good my bid was, which it clearly wasn't, but let's move on.
So what you're considering is you're hoping you played worse bridge but qualified.
Correct, yeah. At least just on that one board, you know, because I remember playing, I mean, you know, at least pretty good for my standards for the rest of the tournament, and it was just so disappointing to have it all come crashing around my ears on the last board, you know? Something that I personally could have done. Just that, Yep, no, you're right. I am probably one of the worst losers you've ever met. It comes back to that whole competitive thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And James Coots and I play quite a few card games at home, and it's even for like small games, it's not any better. I'm still a really sore loser. It's like
I love playing you and Babu because like it's a game where everyone goes through a phase of losing, and you just like you play like 4 lots of 7 games, so 28 games, and everyone has like some shocking round at some point. But as soon as it happens to Al, it's like, oh god.
I get really mad and I like throw my cards and much as I love Babu, I hate playing Babu, mostly because, you know, I'm really bad at it still, and it's just yeah, I get really, really mad. It's really annoying.
Talking about
But it's
losing.
okay because James Coots is almost as bad a loser as I am.
He is a shocker. Oh my god.
It's really good. So it's
Do you enjoy watching him lose?
a lot. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, kind of not because I know what it feels like. A little bit yes and a little bit no.
I was just wondering if you realize what satisfaction you're giving other people when you play.
Yeah, I kind of do, yeah. But it's mostly I enjoy watching how sore a loser he is because it makes me not feel bad about when I'm a sore loser. You know, it kind of just makes me feel like it's even, so neither of us really minds, and the other one gets really pissed off about losing. So it works.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess the answer to your question is no mechanisms in place currently.
I think I came up with a conclusion that I think losing by about 7 imps is the worst number to possibly lose by. Because if you lose by like 1 imp, everyone's like, oh no, you lost by 1 imp. But then you look over it and think that there's about everyone on the team could have done about 100 things that would have got that 1 imp. So you're like, oh, whatever. Like everyone knows. It's not just me that stuffed it up.
Yeah.
And if you lose by like 20 or more, then it's not just one board. But like 7 imps is like infrequent but frequent enough that you're like, oh god, that last board, why did I do this? That cost exactly 7 imps. And
Yeah, tell me about it.
especially in the part score zone as well. You know, you just kind of overcompete and then go for 200 when you were going to get 100, and you think, like, what sort of result is that? You know, like minus 200. I'm just like, you know, this is just mud. You know, like I'm just, you know, like of all the things to lose on, you know, I wasn't pushing towards an aggressive game, or I wasn't, you know, blah blah blah. I wasn't bidding a reasonable slam with the ace of clubs offside. You know, I was just bidding 3 hearts over 3 diamonds because I couldn't care less about defending on the last board of the tournament. You know, that is the worst. That is absolute worst. Just donating imps. You know, everyone who's listening, stop doing that. You know, stop doing stupid stuff on the last board because you're, you know, because you're tired, because you're sad, because you just want this to be over so you can score up and stuff. Just,
But I want to be
you know,
dummy.
I know. But your
Get to the
partner's going
bar
to punch you in
earlier.
the face when you put down your piece of, you know, I don't know, can we swear on this podcast? But whatever. If you put down your usual dummy, Pete, like you'll get punched in the face on this last board.
Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the bar and score up. You just play the, you know, like play the shit out of this hand so that you can hopefully not lose us 7 imps. I'll see you later, you know, like, geez, don't do that. Don't be that guy.
I was that guy. It wasn't the last board, but I was playing. We were playing the BAM constellation event in Turkey, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a bit of silliness going on. It was a constellation event, and so I was playing on an Australian team with a bunch of Australian girls, and Justin Howard was playing with Dennis Bilday, and I think Dennis, because I was playing with Jess Break at the time, and I think Dennis liked the fact that Jess was really pretty, and he was like, I'm going to play these 2 boards with Jess, and we were like, okay. So I played 2 boards with Justin Howard, and he opened a no trump, like 15 to 17 or whatever, some no trump, and I had some pretty average 5 count, pretty average, you know, 4 4 3 2, crappy hand, and it went like a no trump, 2 spades, and I was like, let's make a takeout double with my crappy 5 count.
Partner
So
might pass.
I didn't really want partner to pass. I had no defense. It was a terrible hand. But the thing about BAM is, I realized that you really just, if you're not vulnerable, you kind of just want to bid. You kind of just want to play the hand because you're probably just going to win the board. You know, so that was kind of my policy. I bid on I made a takeout double on my 5 count, and Justin Howard bid 3 hearts, and then he played the shit out of the 3 heart bid, this 3 heart contract. He played it like an absolute boss, and it took him all of 3 seconds, maybe. Probably not. I probably didn't even need to really stop and think about it. He just played some cards. He stopped for half a second, then realized this guy was going to get strip squeeze and played pseudo rough crop trick blah something. and then the guy
I love that play.
Yeah.
minutes yelling at each other, and Joe's just like, nah, there's nothing he could have done. They didn't really listen, they just kept yelling at each other. And I was like, yep, well, that was good. So,
Okay, it can work.
Yeah,
You heard it
exactly.
here.
yeah, but usually you just get punched in the face, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Might wrap up there. Hope you enjoyed this first episode, and this will be running approximately fortnightly, so hopefully see you in a couple of weeks.